What's up, wrestling fans? You're watching Fight Talks News, the one-stop spot for every WWE headline and showdown. Subscribe now and ring that bell and let's get started. AEW Dynamite delivered a women's blood and guts match that instantly became one of the most emotionally charged and divisive moments in the company's history. While the match featured intensity, high-stakes drama, and the physical commitment expected from a major AEW spectacle, it was the ending, not the action, that sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. Toni Storm's shocking decision to surrender, choosing the well-being of Mina Shirakawa over securing victory, created a storm of debate among fans and pundits. Some call her a hero for choosing compassion. Others argue she abandoned her team when the stakes were highest. Mercedes Moné, meanwhile, emerged as an undeniable force, orchestrating a match that showcased her leadership, strategy, and presence in a way that redefined her place in AEW. What unfolded inside that cage wasn't simply competition, it was a story about loyalty, sacrifice, and the price of loving someone enough to stop fighting, a match that redefined intensity. From the opening moments, the women in this match made it clear that AEW's women's division can deliver main event-level spectacle without relying on the softened presentation that has historically limited women's wrestling. Both teams entered the structure prepared for a grueling battle, and the fast pace reflected the sense of urgency each competitor carried. Mercedes Moné, flanked by Willow Nightingale, Kris Statlander, Bayne, and Marina Shafir, displayed remarkable coordination, forming what felt like the most strategically unified women's team AEW has assembled. Toni Storm's side, featuring herself, Mina Shirakawa, and their allies, faced a daunting task, but stepped forward with confidence and resilience. The match unfolded at a blistering speed, filled with creative maneuvers, teamwork, and high-risk spots that showcased how far the women's division has evolved. Every athlete brought something unique, creating a thrilling showcase that surpassed expectations without crossing into dangerous territory. Mina Shirakawa becomes the emotional center. The true turning point came when Mercedes Moné recognized Mina Shirakawa as the emotional fulcrum of Toni Storm's entire team. Instead of focusing solely on Storm, Moné made the brilliant strategic choice to isolate Mina, forcing Storm into the painful, emotional position of watching someone she deeply cares for struggle under overwhelming pressure. While the physical action stayed within professional wrestling norms, the emotional storytelling elevated the match. Every attempt Storm made to reach Mina was cut off by Moné's team, creating a sense of urgency and helplessness that resonated throughout the arena. Mina's determination to keep fighting despite mounting fatigue turned her into the heart of the match, and fans rallied behind her courage. While the circumstances became more challenging, the presentation emphasized tension, not gore, using pacing and character reactions to communicate the stakes. Toni Storm's heartbreaking surrender. The moment that will be remembered for years happened when Toni Storm, overwhelmed by emotion and fearing the toll the match was taking on Mina, made the unprecedented decision to verbally surrender. It was a choice driven not by defeat, but by love and concern, an acknowledgement that no victory is worth risking someone's well-being. The surrender stunned the arena. Teammates looked confused and frustrated, unsure how to process Storm's decision when they still felt able to continue. Mercedes Moné's reaction was calculated, celebrating her strategic triumph rather than simply the win. To her, breaking Storm's resolve was the ultimate victory. Fans immediately split into two camps. Some applauded Storm's humanity, while others booed, believing she walked away when the match demanded resilience. Regardless of where one stands, the emotional weight of Storm's decision created one of the most memorable conclusions in AEW women's division history: the controversy surrounding Storm's choice. No moment in recent women's wrestling has generated a debate this intense. Supporters of Storm argue that real strength sometimes means knowing when to stop, especially when someone's well-being is involved. They insist that she made a selfless decision, refusing to put Mina at further risk during a match structure where medical intervention is limited until the contest concludes. Critics counter that wrestling is built on perseverance and that Storm's surrender sends the wrong message about resilience. They argue that Mina willingly accepted the challenge and that Storm undermined her agency by making the decision for her. Others believe Storm betrayed her teammates, who entered the match understanding its difficulty and expecting their leader to stand firm until the bitter end. The debate touches on deeper questions about wrestling storytelling. Should characters be punished for compassion or praised for humanity? Fractures. Within Storm's team, the aftermath of the match showed visible tension among Storm's teammates. Some walked ahead of her without acknowledgement. Others avoided eye contact, and the usual sense of unity was noticeably absent. It is clear that AEW will explore the emotional fallout from this decision in the weeks to come. Backstage segments and promos will likely revolve around trust, accountability, and whether Storm's team can rebuild after such a dramatic moment. Mina Shirakawa's response will be especially important. She may either express gratitude for Storm's choice or frustration that she wasn't allowed to finish the match on her own terms. This dynamic alone could fuel months of compelling storytelling, reshaping alliances, and potentially turning partners into rivals. Mercedes Moné's path to championship gold. With this victory, Mercedes Moné becomes the most credible challenger for any championship she wants to pursue. Whether she sets her sights on the AEW Women's World Championship or the TBS Championship, her momentum is undeniable. Her presence elevates every segment she touches, making her a centerpiece of the women's division, both in terms of wrestling and star power. AEW now faces the challenge of building compelling, believable contenders who can match Moné's intensity and strategic brilliance. Her character, powerful, confident, and unwavering, creates opportunities for long-term storytelling, setting the stage for rivalries built on respect, fear, ambition, or revenge. The women's division has shifted. This match reshaped the hierarchy of AEW's women's division. Mercedes Moné stands firmly at the top, her dominance reinforced by her leadership and performance. Toni Storm remains a major star, but her surrender introduces emotional complexity that changes how fans and wrestlers perceive her. Mina Shirakawa, despite being at the center of the drama, gained sympathy and admiration for her courage, positioning her as a future breakout star. Members of Moné's team benefited significantly from the association, each gaining momentum that can feed into individual stories. The division now has multiple threads: redemption, revenge, ambition, fractured alliances that will guide AEW programming for months. Conclusion: a match that will be discussed for years. AEW's Women's Blood and Guts match was more than a spectacle. It was a turning point. It proved that women's wrestling can deliver emotionally rich storytelling on the same scale as any major men's match, without relying on excessive violence. Toni Storm's surrender will remain one of the most debated decisions in modern wrestling, celebrated by some as an act of love and condemned by others as a failure of leadership. Mercedes Moné cemented her role as the division's commanding force, reshaping the landscape and setting herself up for championship glory. In the end, this match will be remembered not for shock value, but for the emotional depth it brought to AEW's women's division, and for challenging fans to reconsider what strength, sacrifice, and leadership truly mean in the world of professional wrestling.